Tech and Innovation at the Bank of Ghana, Kwame Opon, spoke to Joy Business at the Africa Money and DeFi Summit 2023, where a hackathon was launched to develop innovative solutions.
The Africa Money and DeFi Summit is a platform to connect industry leaders from the African fintech and emerging technology space with many international players. With Africa becoming a major player on the global financial scene and increasing adoption of financial technologies, the African continent has become a fertile ground for financial innovation and emerging technologies such as cryptocurrencies. Hence, the need for dialogue to harmonize and create new opportunities for fintechs and traditional players. On rolling out an effective digital currency to support financial inclusion, Head of Fintech and Innovation at the Bank of Ghana, Kwame Opon, had this to say.
As the governor mentioned at the 111th MPC briefing, currently the decision to potentially introduce ECD is yet to be determined. It's important that first things are handled first. You don't want to introduce a new variable within a certain climate. But the most important thing is that our exploration and research, and as you see with the sandbox, or with the sandboxing of the ECD and a hackathon, are things that are part of the steps towards understanding and making sure that a future ECD will be relevant, will be safe, and would also actually come to inure to the benefits of the overall sector. So at the right time, I'm sure the leadership of the bank will make a
launch of a hackathon by the Bank of Ghana to develop innovative solutions to specific situations in which the ECD could potentially be used.
Within this context, we will be leveraging the creativity of young developers in Ghana and innovators in developing use cases for a potential future ECD. This is really a way of, first of all, demonstrating our commitment to the fact that we bring, or we think of the ECD as an enabler of the broader ecosystem as opposed to a competing product. But even most importantly, it would also show that indeed there is creativity, talent, and potential here in this country to solve our local problems.
Andrew Fasnich, founder of the Africa Money and DeFi Summit, explained the need for regulators on the African bloc to catch up with emerging technology.
The other side about decentralized finance and crypto, whether regulators agree or disagree, it's happening. So if people are losing money in their local currencies and they don't trust the local currency, they're going to find other alternatives, and that is happening. So unfortunately, the genie is out of the bottle. There is no going back. I think the regulators obviously have to catch up in terms of what happens, and there has to be protection. You know, I'm not here telling people to go and buy crypto. What I'm saying, as an industry, I think there has to be protections in place.
The summit, which was held under the theme Catalyzing the Financial Revolution in Africa, aims to converge fintechs and cryptocurrencies to contribute to the financial growth of the continent and explore new opportunities in a rapidly expanding market.
Now, the Chamber of Aquaculture has disclosed that fish farmers along the Volta Lake have lost live fish stock worth over 46 million cedis due to the spillage of water from the Akosombo Dam. The Volta River Authority opened the dam recently to ensure that the hydropower plant is not damaged as a result of the rising water levels. The following report has more.
The spillage, according to the Chamber of Agriculture of Ghana, has caused massive destruction to the assets and investment of cage farmers operating along the Volta Lake. Over 500 cages have been destroyed. Cage farmers lost their fish stock, brood stock, and fingerlings. In addition, some hatcheries situated close to the Volta River bank have been submerged. The chamber disclosed that a number of its members and other cage farmers operating on the Volta River have lost an estimated 46 million cedis worth of investment as a result of the spillage from the dam. It added that the current spillage has washed away fish farming assets to the estuary at Adan, destroying them beyond repairs. This could, in the coming weeks, affect the supply of fish to consumers in the southern parts of the country.
Let's go on phone now and speak to the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Aquaculture, Jacob Ajika. Jacob, can you tell us the situation on the ground?
Hello, thanks for having me. Yes, the situation on the ground is that it's not the best at the moment for fish farmers on the Volta River at the moment. The reason is that since the Volta River Authority started the spillage, it's having a lot of devastation impacts on their business. Number of cage farmers around Agodome, Chabanya, Tungapofe, etc. have really incurred huge losses because the fast-moving current is washed or has washed away most of their cages. As a result of that, as you indicated in your news items, about 500 cages have been washed away, and a lot of live fish stocks escaped from the net, etc. And if you look at, you do a rough calculation of the cost of the loss, it's estimated around 46 million Ghanaian cedis. And it's just not about the businesses making huge losses. It's also going to have some effect on the whole community. You know, in communities where fish farming activities are taking place, they engage a lot of young people, young women, etc., along the entire value chain. But once those businesses are damaged, the livelihood of people in these communities will be affected. So as we speak, businesses who have been affected are likely to lay off their workers. Workers such as the divers, the feeders, and even women who play a lot of critical roles during harvesting, in terms of gassing, icing, etc., all going to lose their work because of this activity that is ongoing at the moment. So at this moment, we would also like to use your medium again to appeal to the government, especially the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, to come to the aid of these cage fish farmers who are incurring huge losses as a result of the spillage of water from the Akosombo Dam. We just returned from the coast, and it was sad to notice that even some of the affected farmers are young men who have created a lot of economic opportunities and job opportunities for their host community. And if you look at what has happened to them, a lot of people in these communities are going to lose their jobs. And I think it's not out of place to call on the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development to come to the aid of those farmers. And we also use this opportunity to encourage farmers to always subscribe for aquaculture insurance. Because in a situation like this, if you have an insurance policy, aquaculture insurance policy in place, I mean, it should go a long way to help you recover from this negative impact of spillage of water from the Volta River Authority as well. And as the spillage is ongoing, we also use this opportunity to encourage the Volta River Authority to constantly update stakeholders, especially cage fish farmers on the Volta River, the situation, farmers to know what the volume of water that they are spilling out, so that these farmers can also prepare themselves and, put up the basic strategies in place to protect their assets on the Volta River.
Jacob, this is a yearly action by the Volta River Authority. What has been your engagement with the authority to minimize the impact?
Well, as mentioned, this has been a yearly activity, but, they are also doing this because they want to protect the dam. So if you look at what is happening up the dam, I mean, I'm talking about the reservoir or the Volta Lake. The water level there is rising very, very fast. In some of the host communities around Pomponia, Akasen, and the rest, you can see that the level of water is rising very fast, and one can conclude that the Volta River Authority doesn't have any option to keep on spilling more water to protect the dam, which has a lot of uses for the nation as well. So we find ourselves in a situation that we know for sure Volta River Authority doesn't have any option to keep on spilling, and businesses operating on the Volta Lake and the Volta River also don't have any option to try to keep on putting some measures in place each year to mitigate the loss. That is likely to happen anytime the VRA is spilling water from the dam.
What new strategies are you implementing so that this will not recur in the future?
well, as I indicated, we cannot totally prevent this from happening. But what we can do is to educate case farmers especially that, look, the risk will continue to be there, so you need to, one, subscribe for insurance policy to cover this type of risk. And also, secondly, we need to look at the kind of materials that we are using to construct the cages. Some materials, specifically the HDP pipes, are quite resilient and can withstand this kind of scenario. But those using the metal pipes are those that have been affected greatly. So I think we need to really adapt materials that can withstand this kind of scenario by using pipes like HDP pipes that are very resilient and quite strong when this kind of events happen.
Much for your time, Jacob Ajika. He's the CEO of the Chamber of Aquaculture. We'll be following this development and we'll bring you more subsequently. You're still watching Business Live here on the Joy News channel with me, Beverly Broom. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority says government has now cleared all outstanding Tier 1 and Tier 2 pension contributions ending August 2023. It's coming after the Financial Stability Review report revealed that government has defaulted on contributions from October last year to March 2023. But Chief Executive of the authority, Hayford Atakrofi, explained that the delay was due to the fact that government wanted to finalize the debt exchange program before all necessary payments are made.
Last year, at the inception of the domestic debt exchange, government had to restructure its debt. And of course, that meant that it had a lot of impact on its commitment towards all sectors of the economy, including pensions. So there were some delays in the payment of Tier 1 and Tier 2 contributions. Now, the first phase of the domestic debt exchange came to a close and the second phase opened. Remember, pension funds didn't want to participate, so there was an ongoing discussion between government and pension funds. And then in the second phase, pension funds participated, which closed in August, and all contributions, all arrears, that was old pension funds, was then cleared by government.
So as we speak right now, is it ending July, ending September? All the necessary SNIT Tier 1, Tier 2 contributions has been done by government?
Well, there will always be some delays. There will always be some delays, but there is absolutely no way that government would default. But as at the 28th of October, when the second phase of the domestic debt exchange closed, all commitments of government to pension funds, and it was to the tune of about 2.33 billion Ghana cedis, which was paid to pension funds.
That takes it up to the end of June, that takes it up to end of July, or that takes it up to when, please?
It was August. Throughout all jurisdictions, that is always the case, but there is absolutely no way that government will default on its commitment towards pensions.
You don't see that. Some would say that an up-to-date payment would have helped a lot if it hadn't been with debt exchange program. The issue about delays in meeting these contributions has always come up. And so the concern is that for you as a regulator, what is being done to ensure that at least there could be a month gap in terms of the up-to-date payment when it comes to all these payments?
The law says it should be paid on the 14th of the ensuing month. And if it is not paid, obviously there will be some value loss. And that is why the law has built in a 3% penalty that has to be paid on top of the principal that needs to be paid. And that is how the law works, to ensure that contributors are not shortchanged when it comes to pension payments.
Today we are talking about government because there's a concern there. What is being done to ensure that all the players also meet their payment obligations to ensure that the scheme is sustained?
Yeah. Of course, as I said, there will always be delays. There may be some who may even avoid, there are those who may even default, because some will claim, especially with Tier 2, that we don't even know that Tier 2 is mandatory and so on and so forth. Now, both the regulator and the Tier 1 managers, which is SNIT, have powers to prosecute. And these powers are being utilized in full force to ensure that those who do not pay on time, those who default, are prosecuted. And as of now, Tier 1 and Tier 2 defaulters, many of them are in a court and they are facing prosecution.
And this amount that was paid in August, any idea about the exact amount that was paid?
Well, the government's commitment to pension funds was 2.33 billion Ghana cedis.
And do you think that enough is being done on your part as a regulator to ensure that the scheme would deal with the sustainability concerns that has come up in terms of the scheme itself?
Of course, as regulators, you have to be on top of your game, in terms of how you regulate and monitor the industry. Of course, we use technology, we use some kind of, I would say, sometimes moral suasion, especially in circumstances where you have to put in some regulatory forbearance to ensure that you don't leave your industry too far behind. You carry them along with you, and you bring in innovations and a whole lot of technology that can also help your industry to keep alongside with you. Yeah, so as regulators, we're doing the best that we can under the circumstances, but you cannot rest on your oars, because naturally as the industry grows up, there will be institutions which will avoid, there will be institutions which will lag behind, there will be institutions which will be doing the right thing. So you always have to keep up with it. And that's why I would say as regulators, we have developed a new technology which we call the risk-based supervision. That is also helping us in real time to see what the risks are in the industry, and then to see how we can mitigate them, and where we cannot mitigate, and there are, say, the residual risk, we use inspections and sometimes even penalties and other forms of sanctions to bring everybody up to speed.
Again, going forward again, what has been the level of engagement with government to ensure that as time goes on, we reduce the time lag for meeting these contributions to the scheme when it comes to Tier 1 and Tier 2?
The engagement is regular. We go to the Ministry of Finance, we go to the controller, and have discussions, especially when we have complaints from the public sector schemes. That and here, talking about the public sector schemes, we're talking SNIT here. We're also talking about for example, the teacher scheme, the civil servant scheme, the doctors and nurses scheme, the judicial service, and other public service workers schemes. These are the public sector schemes that government is mainly a strong employer. And that is where sometimes some of these delays will come from. So when we have complaints from them, then we will approach government and see how best we can work through that.
Now, the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations and the Minister in charge of Pensions, Ignatius Bafo-Ewa, has indicated that government is working to rope in 2 million cocoa farmers onto the social security system. According to him, government will continue to leverage technology to help increase social security coverage in Ghana. He was speaking at a technical seminar by the International Social Security Association, hosted by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust.
Social Security Association held a technical seminar on using digitalization to leverage extension of social security coverage in Africa. At the seminar, the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations and the Minister in charge of Pensions, Bafo-Ewa, said government is hoping to bring about 2 million cocoa farmers onto the social security scheme.
Unfortunately, most of the players within the cocoa value chain in Ghana operate within the informal economy, so they are not on social security. But I'm proud to say that since last year, government, through the various pension agencies, have worked to bring about 2 million cocoa farmers onto the social security systems in Ghana. It's going to be operational by the end of this year, and when that is done, the numbers who are on social security will no longer be 1.8, but will move from 1.8 to 3.8.
Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, Dr. John Ofori-Tinkran, added that his outfit is working to remove all bottlenecks hindering people from signing on to the pension scheme.
SNET has about 1.8, 1.9 million active contributors. Out of a population, a working population of almost about 8 million or so. So clearly we have a long way to go. But the only way we can do this is to leverage the power of technology to allow people to sign up easily with SNET, to straighten out or eliminate any of the bottlenecks that come with pension claim and pensions claims adjudication, and also to make it easy for people to give us their money, to pay their social security contributions.
Secretary General of the International Social Security Association, Marcelo Abiramia Catano, reiterated their commitment to improving social security coverage in Ghana and West Africa.
Ghana is, we see that there is not just in Ghana, but in many countries of West Africa, one of the biggest challenges is the increasing coverage of social security. So this is the topic of this webinar today, and we are seeing via this, not this webinar, sorry, this technical seminar, and we are seeing via this seminar how can we use the digitalization in order to increase coverage of social security. So it's a way in which our countries, the members of the West Africa, can change their experience. So for example, the minister today, he mentioned one example of workers with cocoa that had an increase in coverage for that specific group. So this is one thing that we can share with other countries in the region.
The association also commissioned the newly transferred liaison office in Accra.
And that's how we end Business Live tonight. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broom. I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.